Okay, this is like a part three to the Evil Bastards, the Binladen series. Okay, this is called versus Inglorious Heroes, which is of course meaning to be the corrupted democracies of the West. Now, this of course is in no reference to the uh, British and American soldiers. It might be in a slight reference to, of course, people like the private contractors and the intelligence agencies are not exactly been completely out of the result, out of the woods basically in terms of dastardly deeds in the past, maybe some sort of counter-terrorism, and of course the other side can say that is terrorism because they're using terror, the other side's using terror, so everybody in that sense comes off as a terrorist. Um, Particularly when you start dealing with people who are using torture in interrogation, and also people like the ISI who basically have been working for the Bin Ladens for the past 40 odd years. Um, and just as we were kept in the dark about this, I'm practically in the dark here, and I apologise about the light, but unfortunately there is no light bulbs in the house, and I'm not going out in the rain at the moment to get it. So strike while the iron's hot, and I've well, the little grey cells in my brain are working properly still. So why, it, this is not really a video about whether InfoKemp is for peace or for war or anything like that. Really, this is about why, if our side of the argument, corrupted Western democracies, has for centuries had people who war profiteers, gangsters running banks, and generally parasitical people who, like I said, with the economics part of this vid, um, have just about ruined any faith we had in the idea of rational democracy, which is based on the ethics of the Enlightenment and the natural goodness of people. It is something quite difficult to understand when basically you've got people who are supposed to be on the west side, in fact, agreeing with the Bin Ladens and saying, in essence, they have no problem with thinking that other people are nobodies because they don't have as much money as them. Even though all moral and productive and any other rationale you can use shows that the vast majority of people who go out and earn a living and build the roads and make new technologies, and the doctors, the nurses, the scientists, and all, police and soldiers are far better people than the people who are trying to asset strip companies who are already trying to keep themselves alive, all while we're at war, and all while they're trying to stab the troops in the back, while those very same people are asking for wars such as Iraq, which were wars of choice as far as the population was going. But of course Bush and his family, just like the Bin Ladens and Saudis, have a beef with each other and with the West and other organised crime and terrorist families. The Bush family, which is a political family, but with of course a shady past, not averse to doing deals with even people in the Bin Laden family, which of course has left them open to severe criticism. But that of course was before 2001 and the 9/11. Of course, any political contacts between the Bin Ladens and the Bushes, if they still exist, would be complete political suicide for that dynasty, and they would never be they or the Clintons would never be returned to office, even though they are, in my view at least, and I think the majority view is that they are completely blameless, and Bush didn't really have a idea in hell what was going on that particular tragic day. And considering the power of the Bin Laden family and what they're capable of, there is no need for people to think of outside actors in that, outside of them, that is, in my view. But so, why should we fight against them? Because, as I've said, it's quite a depressing picture. But put it like this way: they believe in or their base of support believes, just as militant Christian fundamentalists believe, and Islamic fundamentalist jihadists believe, and militaristic Zionists, who, if they were any other group of people, would be called religious fanatical, fascistic people or something like that. The trolling begin, Israelis, and 50 centers. Well, those people believe that they have to engage in a destructive cycle of violence for their own particular redemption, and of course without the component of faith, that would of course be suicidal nihilism, and of course be seen as insane as it is, because it causes themselves harm and other people are all around them. In fact, they all probably, in that sense, religious fundamentalists of all three religions from the Middle East believe in the same basic concept that people are evil, and they're intent on screwing the world up for the rest of us. So that would be one reason why the West should fight back, Western rational thought. On the other hand, beyond that, into the actual realms of realpolitik, the Bin Ladens are a feudalistic family. They believe in feudalism, and the families who are like them in other parts of the world, that's not just the Middle East, believe fundamentally that they have a right to own people and to decide who lives and who dies. And they really have no scruples and no morals. People like them are only known to us, really, like the Bin Ladens were outed out of the international system because they proved to everyone that they were trying to be so powerful by doing 9/11 that they could not be stopped by anyone. And people really only find out about it when the shit really hits the fan. I'm sorry to use this language, but the video is called Evil Bastards. People like Hitler, people like Stalin, people who just basically everybody thought that they could just make deals with and get along with, and in the end it proved they were wrong. Why? Because they're psychopaths and they have no empathy for anyone. But if you believe in constitutional republics, even corrupt ones, and democracy and the idea of democracy, then even a blunted sword or a badly working engine, or whatever other analogy you want to use, is better than nothing. Alright? It is better than being a serf. At the moment you can argue that we are subjects, but we are not quite slaves. If we want to be full human beings, we must become citizens who have virtue in ourselves, and then can accept when people who want to lead us, who have virtue in themselves as well. I'm not quite asking for a philosopher king here, or perhaps the best we could hope for is perhaps a Thomas Jefferson at best, that kind of guy. and that's who we sort of need.